Hi there, I'm David, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to register your company with Companies House, which is on the gov.uk website. I'm going to do a step-by-step guide by sharing my screen. So before I disappear into my little bubble and share my screen, I'd just like to say please like and share, ring the bell, and please do comment, because I'd love to hear your feedback on what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing so well, and maybe what you'd like to see in future business-wise. Okay, so let's go straight into it. I'll see you in the bubble. Hi guys, right, so here we go. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you'll want to go to gov.uk over here in your browser, and once you've done that, enter that. You will come to this page here, and in the search box, this is the easiest way I find of getting into Companies House if you're coming right in from the very start. So you want to put company formation. Have to excuse my slow typing, and enter that. Once you've done that, if you scroll down the page a little bit, you can see here is set up a limited company step by step. Click on that, and then you have all of these checkpoints. Now, if you're brand new to business and you've never done anything like this before, it might be as well to read through everything that is on that list. And if anybody wants me to go through that list in another video, please comment, and if I get enough comments I will make a video going through every single point on that list. But for now, I'm going to advise you to go down to register your company with Companies House, which is number 8. Click on that, and down the bottom it says register your company with Companies House again. Click on that. Scroll down the page, and finally we get to the register now page. So now that we're in this page, the link up here in the browser bar, I will send that link to you in the description so that you can go straight to this point if you want to. So are we starting a new application? Yes, we are. And continue. And there's some checks before you start. We'll go straight to the questions, because I think if you're already setting up this with me now, you will have all of these pieces of information that you need. So let's go to continue questions. And once we've done that, the first question is, are you able to pay for this application using a card or PayPal? So it's a £50 payment, so make sure you have that much on your card or PayPal that you're going to use. So I'm going to put yes and continue. And the next question is, are any directors or persons with significant control on the Companies House secure register? Well, that is for victims of threatening behaviour or violence, and I hope you're not one of those people. And you can't risk having your home address information on the public register. So there's an interesting point about that, which I will get to, about how you register your address. But that will be later on in the video. So I'm going to put no, and I'm going to click continue. The next question is, you will, or statement rather, is you will now create a government gateway user ID for this company. So let's click create. And you need to enter your email address in order to do this. So I'm going to put my email address in here. And I'm going to click continue. Enter a code to confirm your email address. So that will come through to your phone or your desktop, whichever. So let me just, that's come through now for me. It's very quick. And I have a code, which I better do this quickly, sorry, because it only gives you 60 seconds. Is S. Clicking the box would help. And confirm. So that has confirmed my email address. Sorry about that. And now we will continue. And what is your full name? So obviously you put your full legal name in there. I should put mine. And continue. Now, you need to create a password and read the instructions there, please. It says it needs to be 10 or more characters. For use with the National Cybersecurity Centre recommends using 3 random words. So it can be anything you want, but use a mixture of letters, numbers, symbols in these 3 words. So I am going to just use a strong password from my Google browser. That's the easiest way that I find to do it. And what I would suggest you also do at this point is click show, make sure they are the same, and I would now screenshot that so that I have got a reference of it, as well as my Google browser having a reference of it. However you do it, when you've put your password in, screenshot it or write it down. So let's press continue, and it will give you your government gateway user ID. Now, what you need to do here is you need to screenshot that or write it down. However you record things again, make sure you have that gateway user ID, because you can get logged out. You can't get back in unless you've got it. So let's move on. I will click continue, and it says you need to set up additional security. Everyone will have to go through this, so click continue and choose the best way to get the, I'm going to put text message. For me, you can use an authenticator app or a voice call. I'm going to click continue, and I will add a UK mobile number right there and continue. And the number I will put in and send access code. It will send that to my phone, I hope. It certainly has, and I've got the number there. Type that in and continue. Oh, maybe I haven't. Let's try again. Oh, sorry, typed the wrong number in. Silly me. Just goes to show that even somebody that's done this loads of times before can forget to actually open the right message when it comes through. There we go. So I've set up additional security. So every time you sign in, they will send you a request for an access code to that number that you've set up if you've done it that way. The authenticator if you've done it with an authenticator, however you arrange it. So let's continue. Okay, so which email do you want to use for this application? Well, I'm going to use the same email, which is the top option, and continue. And what is your relationship to the company? So I'm setting up a limited company here. So I need to be the company director. That gives me significant control further on. So I will just put that in. The other options are company secretary and agent. So if you're doing it for somebody else, you shouldn't be unless you're qualified to do that. And if you're a friend of the director, for example, as another choice. So let's save and continue that. Now, will the company be a community interest company? Now, you need to read the rules and instructions and all the followings for this idea, but a community interest company is basically for the benefit of the public. So it's a social enterprise setup, which has a special set of rules. I'm just going to go straight down the normal business line for now. Again, if you want information on community interest company, again, comment that. And if there's enough comments, I will make a video on setting up a community interest company. So I'm going to click no. I'm going to click save and continue. And will the company be limited by shares or limited by guarantee? So if you're a small organization, maybe 1 or 2 directors, and you're just starting out with business, you need to limit it by guarantee. Now, the reason for this is, as I just click save and continue, you limit your liability to the company, so that if you have a £10,000 debt, for instance, you will be only liable for the amount that you put in later on this. So what is the company name? And limited or LTD. So we will put in, let's just put in Dave's Cables. Oh, I've still got a cap lock on, sorry. Dave's Cables. This is how it appears in all your formal organisation, so that it's Dave Cables Limited. I don't like limited, I'm going to go LTD, but you can choose another name endings including Welsh if you wish to do so. So it's Dave's Cables Limited. It's as simple as that. And then you can, sorry, check the company name against an existing trademark. Okay, so we know that that's probably good because it's silly, but always check. Make sure you check the company name against an existing trademark. And I'm happy with that, so let's continue. Now, registered email address. This is an email address that Companies House can use to contact the company. So if you were setting up in the first place, I would suggest that you also have a business account with Google, or whoever your internet provider is and your email provider is. That way you can get something like info at, directors at, or with me it'd be David Moore at, and so on and so forth, which is a lot more professional than just a Gmail, because it can be at the company name. So it'd be David Moore at Dave's Cables. Anyway, I digress. What is the company's registered email address? I'm just going to continue using the same one for now. It would be advisable to use the same one all the way through, so think about that before you actually start up. Get your email in place before you do your company formation. Save and continue, and confirm registered email address. Make sure it is what you have already. Confirm and continue. Really easy, this. So what is the company's registered office address? So here you need to put in your postcode. So I will put mine in here. And the property number. So I'm going to put that in. And find the address. Sometimes it has difficulty finding my address for some reason. You can always enter it manually, but let's have a look down the list and see if it's there. It's another thing with these, they always seem to be out of order, and it's not actually in the list. So I am going to just click that one for now. Save and continue. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to save at the end. Okay. Confirm and continue. And where will the company be registered? Now, obviously, you need to pick the region that you're in the UK. So England and Wales, in my case. Save and continue. What's the company's principal place of business? Okay. So the principal place of business. See, this is where I wanted to come. I'm just going to pop out my screen for a second, because the place of business doesn't have to be your home address. In fact, I would recommend that you don't use your home address, that you have either your own premises, like a shop or an office. If you don't have those, you can set up a business address service. So let me just pop out and talk to you about that for a second. Okay, so at this point, I just wanted to pop away from the screen for a minute to look you in the eye, so to speak. And I'd like to say that Blackpool Advice can offer you a cheapest registered office address. It's no frills, it's really cheap, and it separates your business entity from your home address, and also your director's address away from your home address, which is really important so that you don't get the mail at home. It will be forwarded to you in various different ways. So let's pop back to the video now and carry on with the application. Okay, so let's go back to it. So I am going to say that I'm using my address, but as I've mentioned before, use an office address service. By all means, take it away from your own personal property. It's business is a legal entity in itself, so you don't need to have anything registered to your home address. Very, very much advise that you don't, if you haven't got a physical business property. Okay, give us one or more ways to contact Dave's Cables, and we've got contact number. We've already got the email address, so you can add extra ones if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave it with the one option that I've already put in. Save and continue. Is the new company replacing another business? Well, I don't know in your case whether you've taken over something, if you already have the business name, but normally if you're setting up from scratch, the answer would be no. And save and continue. And when will the company start trading? Well, I recommend that unless you have plans to just keep it on hold for a while, the best option is on the same day it gets set up, and save and continue. In its first 3 months, will the company do any of the following? So please read this carefully. Will you pay interest on any non-bank loans? For example, to a director who has loaned the company money? Will you make royalty payments, for example, to someone else's patent? Or will it receive interest or dividend payments from overseas investments? It's quite straightforward for a normal first setup. Most of the time, the answer is no. If you are aware that you have any of those that is a yes, then click yes, and we will save and continue. And what will the company be doing? Okay, so you can start typing a keyword and see a list of business activities. They're known as a SIC code. So for Dave's Cables, I am going to be, I don't know whether to say a cable engineer. What should we say Dave's Cables does? Let's say it's retail. That's the easiest way. I sell cables. And then you have all the different answers there. So retail, trade of motor vehicle, retail, non-specialized items, other retail, non-specialized stores. Obviously you need to click whatever relates to your business. I'm just going to go with anything for now. That will do. Make sure you choose the right one for yourself. Scroll down to the bottom, save and continue. Now, you can add another business activity if you're sort of multi-level somehow, or if you've got 2 or 3 things going on, and one's software and one's hardware, for instance, if you're into computers, and one's retail. So you could add software and hardware on there as well. And then once you're happy that you've covered everything that your business is going to do, confirm and continue. Now, here we go with the bit that I was mentioning before about the secure register form. And that relates to the where I popped out my screen earlier with the registered business address. If you don't have one, you can also have a director's address. So you don't need to put your home address for your director or your company, both. And especially if you are on the secure register form, but you need to tell them if you are. I really, again, I say I hope you're not. So I'm going to click no, because that's probably the most straightforward way through. And then the director's detail. So here you need to put in your name, your title first of all, sorry, in full. Make sure you include any middle names you have. Scroll down the screen a little bit. And then, has the director used a different name for business purposes in the last 20 years? You must be completely upfront with both Companies House and HMRC. So make sure that if you have, when you click yes, it will ask you for the previous names that you've used. I'm going to click no, and your nationality. So I am going to put in British, and it will pop up there. And your date of birth, again, make sure you put in your correct date of birth in the right format. This is in English format, so it's day, month, year. So it's 2 digits, 2 digits, and the full 4 digits for the year. And your job title. So in most cases, if you're forming a limited company, I would suggest that you use director. That is what you are. Unless you're, there we are, company director. unless you specifically want to say that you're an electrician or a plumber or so on and so forth. But for these purposes, I would say that you were the director. And save and continue. And what is the correspondence address? So the correspondence address, you would click, hopefully, a different address, which is either your physical premises or the business address service that you've chosen. And then I'm going to click that one just for simplicity, because I haven't set up a different address. So, but you would click a different address and you would put that physical address or the office service address in instead of your own personal address normally. So I'll save and continue that. And what is the home address? So now you do need to put your home address in this bit. That is a requirement, but it will not be publicly available. You see the blue button there. You can always check through your last minute checks there to make sure that everything's okay, but it's for their purposes and not for the public's view. Save and continue. And do I want to receive filing reminders by email? That's entirely up to you. I like them to come through as an email so that everything's on that email for that account. And if I form a different company, I've got another email for that account and that comes through there. So everything's kept neat and tidy. Again, always screenshot what you've done. So if you've chosen your passwords, your emails, etc., make sure you've got a list of exactly where, and a gateway ID, which is really important, somewhere where you know you can get to them and all the information's in one place. A Google Sheet, a screenshot, a folder, however you prefer to record things, or write them in your diary if that's what you do. So let's save and continue. If you take time doing this, by the way, this can time out. And when it times out, you need to go back in and it will take you to the last save and continue, and you will need your gateway ID at that point. So that's why I said it was really important to record the gateway ID. So which email address does David Moore want to use for receiving filing reminders? I'm going to use the same one again because we're assuming it's my Dave's Cables at David Moore at Dave's Cables, or however I set it up, admin at whoever. Save and continue. And do you want to add another director? Well, that's entirely up to you. I'm on my own on this application, my little Dave's Cables company. So I'm going to click no. If you have other directors, you put those in, add their names and details as well. And the director's address service, as I said, will cover them, so they can use the same address for that. So they don't need to have their personal address on public record. So save and continue. So then you need to check through everything that you've put in. Make sure that everything you've put in is correct. Once you're happy that you've done all that, you click the fact that you need to confirm where the director lives and that you agree to become a director. You save and continue. And now you're about to set up the company's guarantors. So if you remember what I said earlier about limiting the liability of your company, this is where this happens. So we click continue, and I am one of the guarantors. So I click yes. I'm the only guarantor in this case. Save and continue. Would you like to add anybody else? Well, yes or no, depending on how you've set up your organization. And check that the details are correct, that you've got your address and that you've got your name. Confirm and continue. And how much will David Moore guarantee the company? So let's come down to here. I'm going to click on £1. So your limited company is a completely separate legal entity. That means that if creditors are chasing your company, and I really hope that doesn't happen to you, but it can happen in the big bad world out there, that you are not personally liable because it's a limited company. If you're a sole trader, you're personally liable for all the debt. But if you're a limited company, the company itself is liable. It's like the company is a person. And if you guaranteed amount of £1, that if everything does come on top and all comes unfolded for you, the only thing that you're legally liable to pay towards that debt is £1. Whereas if you're a sole trader, it's the whole £10,000 or however much that debt is. So very, very important. Make sure that if you're a limited company, you have limited, you guaranteed against the company by amount, not by shares, and it's £1. So you save and continue, and then you check and confirm the guarantee details. Again, make sure all the information is correct that you've just put in, and once you're happy with that, confirm and continue. Now, you're about to set up the persons with significant control over the company. So in this case, that is me, or it could be you, and if you've added other directors as well. But the persons with significant control is just me. That means I make the decisions on any board meetings. It means that I make the decisions to hire and fire and all sorts of things like that. But I'm the person that makes the final decision. Or if you have maybe 2 or 3 directors, yourself and 2 other people, you need to work out exactly what the hierarchy is for that. So let's save and continue that. Will David Moore be distributed by a share of the company profit? So the guarantor doesn't usually take a profit from the company. Instead, the money is kept with the company or used for other purposes. So normally you would click no unless there's special circumstances, and you'd need to read some much more detailed information on Companies House about that if you chose to go elsewhere than there. Let's save and continue that. And what percentage of voting rights does David Moore own? Well, I'm the single sole director, so I'm going to give myself 75% of the voting rights. If you have 2 or 3 directors in your company, maybe you want to have the 75% and the others have the 25 shared between them. That's where those options come in. If you've got 3 directors, you could have more than 50%, but not more than 75%. So you have 50% and the other 2 directors have 25%, for instance. So each one would be setting up, so if you had 2 other directors, it would be more than 25% or none of the above. Let's continue anyway, because I'm just on my own as a sole director. And save and continue. And do I have the right to appoint or remove the majority of the company directors? Again, if it's your business, I'd put yes. For the simple reason, if you bring other directors onto the board in future, you could find yourself as the person that is removed from the company. I've seen it happen. Very rarely, because it wasn't set up well enough to protect the person who initially started the company. So save and continue. And you check all of your details for the person in control of Dave's Cables Limited. So in this case, it's only me, but if there's more than 1 director, there'd be their information there as well. And then you confirm where the person in control lives, if you're happy with the address above, and confirm the control of the company rather, if you're happy with the 75% choice, and then save and continue. So now you come to the model articles of association. Now, this is where, again, I need to do an extra video, I believe, for this. But in this case, most standard basic companies will set up model articles of association. It's a very deep subject, which you need to really research. But if you're going to choose to diversify from the model articles. So I'm just going to click yes. There's plenty of information on Companies House, and I will actually, rather than just wait for comments, I will actually do another video in a few weeks' time about model articles of association and how to adapt them to your own choices. You may want to take a clause out, add another clause in, then it's not the model article anymore, and you have to save it as such with Companies House. But we'll move on now and say that we're accepting the model articles. Save and continue. And do you agree to form the company? So, company name, Dave's Cables Limited. The guarantor's name is myself, and it says what legal statement will appear on this company's application. I confirm that the persons named here agree to form the company stated in the Memorandum of Association in accordance with the law. Or I confirm that the person named here wishes to form the company for... Oh, sorry, I confirm that the person named here wish to form the company for lawful purposes. You need to tick both of those boxes right there, and then save and continue. Now create an electronic signature for myself. So by doing that, these days you need to choose 3 of these pieces of information, whichever ones you prefer, and it doesn't even have to be your town of birth. You could write elephant, but let's be sensible. Enter the town of birth, first 3 letters only, LON. I've done capitalization there, so this may catch you out sometimes when they ask security questions, which these are basically, if you forget that you did capitalization. So you could do all capitals, you could do uppercase first or none, but again, screenshot what you've done. So mother's maiden name, enter mother's maiden name, first 3 letters only. So I'm going to put A, B, C for that. And let's do father's first name right there and put in D, E, F. The reason I'm doing that, obviously, is because I don't want you to know my mother's maiden name or my father's first name. But this is for your purposes so that you can get yourself back in. And at that point, please do write this down very safely, add it to a Google Doc for your business, or screenshot this, or do all 3. So now that I've chosen 3 ways to prove who I am, that are memorable, and that I've also got it stored somewhere if I have forgotten, save and continue. And check the confirmation and confirm your answer, sorry. So here it all is. There's your applicant as a director for Dave's Cables Limited, your address, where it's registered office, company contact details, etc., etc. Read through all of these. This is the point where you can change anything over here on the right hand side if something isn't quite correct. Review the information you have provided and then continue. Okay, let's confirm and continue. Check your answers for the second part, which is the directorship, persons in control of the company, etc. Once you're happy that everything is correct on there, now send your application, and you click I understand that this is that this registration application can't be changed after I proceed. That's why it's so important to make sure all of the details are correct before you confirm and continue. So confirm and send application, and you're about to make a secure payment of £50. Okay, so before you pay, make a note of this company's house submission number. Again, screenshot, write it down, put it on a Google Doc for your company, whatever you do. Make sure you've got it recorded. I like it recorded in 2 different places, on a Google Doc and on a screenshot. And I can't stress how important that is, because say you lose your diary, or say that you accidentally wipe off you've got it in 2 different places, so you're not likely to remove the screenshot folder and remove the Google Doc by accident. And if you are, then you really need to consider other ways of storing things safely and securely. Okay, sorry, so I'm going on and on about that, but it's really, really important. And you can pay by credit card or debit card. And obviously the final stage, which I'm not going to do because it's a totally fictitious company, is I'm going to pay by credit card, and I'm going to click continue to payment. And obviously you know how to fill in your card number, your expiry date, name on the card, and the security address, the billing address for your card or bank, wherever your bank account, however wherever that is, and make sure the contact details I would put in the same email that you've been using all the way through this. And the final thing you do is hit that green button to continue after you paid your £50, and hey presto, you have set up or apply to form your own limited company, and you should have confirmation through on your email very, very shortly that that is what you've done. Right, so that's about it for this video. I'll see you in the next video, but before I go, I'd just like to say, as I mentioned before, all the links that you need for all the different things I've mentioned will be in the description. Thank you very much. See you soon.